Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 16. Master your mind, master your business. Welcome aboard, Elise. Today is going
Hi,
to be
Francis.
yes, sorry. I'm so excited. We were high frequencies. We were just before the recording, kind of laughing and all that. So, hey, welcome. We're bringing all these vibes because today we want to help you to unlock your subconscious patterns, driving your decisions, your performance, and your team results. So, again, welcome this morning, Elise. How
Good
are you?
morning. Good morning, Francis. Yeah, good to see you. Thank you. And it's great to see everyone today because this topic is so exciting. I mean, I love the kind of heading we chose, master your mind, master your business, because it's all about understanding how decisions are made, how we go forward, and what like the root causes of results. We often talk about, how do we know we're thinking the right things or how do we know we're doing the right things? Because you can look at your results. So I guess the big question is when you're dealing with things in your personal life or in your business, and if there's something that you want to improve, are you dealing with the root cause or are you only dealing with the symptoms? Because if you're only going to symptoms, you're not getting to the actual cause of the problem. And today we're going to talk about how we get to that root cause and how we fundamentally change it so that you can get those results that you're after.
Yeah, I just had this thought that came in. I used to say to my clients, and now I'm going to use this analogy more. It's, we're looking at the results. It's almost like imagine you're the projector, and the projector has an image on that wall, right? And so most of us, without realizing it, we're looking at our results and are like trying to scratch anything that's on the wall. Let's say there's a picture, there's something in it, you're trying to scratch the wall, and you're like, this must leave.
Not
Like, I
at
don't like
all.
this. Instead of changing
Yeah,
our
good
lens,
point.
this is really where it needs to, like, that's the root cause. But we're just so used and conditioned to try to change the circumstances on the outside, but without understanding that we must change ourselves first, change the lens. And so, yeah,
Mhm.
it's such a great way to start with understanding to go at the root cause and not just temporarily, but permanently. So, we're going to
Mhm.
actually just teach you guys a little bit more about how to do that today, right?
Yeah. And when you think what you were saying now almost goes back to thinking about your results being the mirror of what's going on inside. And here we're saying you become what you think about. So your thoughts are controlling every decision. Everything that we think about in our lives eventually becomes reality. Just think about if you make a decision to apply for a new job or move to a new house, like that's a decision that you make in your mind before you go and take the actions to go and look at houses or contact a real estate agent. So everything starts with a thought or a decision first, and then those things, you take the actions in alignment with it to get the results you want. So understanding that everything that you have in your life comes from what is going on in your mind makes you realize how important it is to actually spend time on understanding this so that you can make conscious decisions and be deliberate about what you want. I think often we kind of feel like we can easily feel like victims, right? We feel like life is happening to us. And then when we realize that it's actually a function of things we're believing and things that we are thinking, actually we're in control, which is very empowering, but it also requires you to kind of stand up and take responsibility, which is exciting, and especially if you actually understand how it works.
Yeah, and I love when we have these conversations because I was just thinking about how I used to think right after the university, right? Like right out of the gate, we're young, we're thinking. So the thing is, we didn't realize that we were just thinking in a certain way that allowed us to do maybe more things because I'm young. This is the start of my career. There's so much growth that's possible. Yes, let's go. Let's take some risk. But and it's not because of age. It's really because of the thinking. And you could be in your 50s and say, there's not much more time left. Going to study something else will put me backwards. All of these thoughts, but this is really
Mm-hmm.
just about a thought. And so when you explain also even about the house, some of the people might say, okay, so I want to buy a house, but I don't have the money. And it's not about not having the money. And it's also, there's a big difference of saying, I don't have, I want to have a house and I don't have the money, because the next question is more about how do I get the money? And if I
Mm.
say but, I negate everything. And really, the thought that's in implied is I don't think I can make a lot of money, so I'm not gonna get that house, or I'm not gonna expand my business because it's gonna cost me a lot of money. What if your thought is, yes, I would like to expand. I don't have the money now, and I will find it because I have. My thought is, I am confident that these things will happen. I'm confident that I have the ability to make that happen. It's a whole different game. So now we're just realizing that by this thought that's internal, like some people can have the exact same situation, thinking about expanding, thinking about buying a house, but the thought that's implied is really the one that drives the behavior. It's so interesting, and so it's a good reality check for us today to really ask ourselves, okay, do I really master my mind? If I want to master
Mm.
my business, what is in my thinking that I can change so that I can control my outcome? Really?
Yeah. And it's always fascinating to think about like how what makes successful people different. And so often we can think about like they were lucky or they just had opportunities or they were born into a family that was wealthy or had a business or something like that.
Yeah,
And this
absolutely.
this over Thanksgiving, we went to Detroit and we went to go and visit the Henry Ford Museum. So, many people have heard about Henry Ford and we read about him in books like Think and Grow Rich, which really made me excited to go and visit it, right? Because you've read about how Napoleon Hill, explores and interviews and really studies these successful people to understand what makes him different and what lessons can we learn. And, I so often think that the more books I read about success and personal development and successful people, the more I go, man, like there is so much good stuff in books. Like we so frequently, like so many people don't read, and there's so much like amazing wisdom that is in these books. So I was really excited to go and see this museum. And I mean, the entire Detroit is just about called Henry Ford something, right? It's like restaurants and roads and universities and it was absolutely fascinating just seeing how he had this kind of mission to be able to kind of move people forward, and he was tinkering in kind of his backyard, and then he was like, I want to give people jobs and I want to make it bigger and I want to explore all these things and do all these things. And it's absolutely fascinating how he didn't let anything hold him back. I mean, there were like really hard times that they went through, and there was fundamental changes, and people were challenging him. We all know the story about the Model T, where he was like, you can have any color as long as it's black, right? I mean, so many people would have said, oh, but you need to give people options. And he said, no, like, I want this thing to be efficient. I want to be able to make it affordable. I want to give people good wages. Like, this is how we're going to make it efficient from a manufacturing perspective. And that's how we're not going to have options and choices. And that's almost like how many of the industrial kind of plans and all the manufacturing centers have developed just out of, how do we move things forward? And he even changed the way that they manufactured, right? So previously they had the car and then people, different teams would have to come to do different parts of the car. And he was like, what if the car moves and the teams stay where they are? So they had at one stage someone like pushing the car to different like areas so different people can do different things, just again for efficiency's sake. But someone that thought about things completely differently, was willing to be challenged, was willing to be ridiculed, was willing to try new things. Like, if you think about that, and then, some of the things we sometimes allow to hold us back, like, it's so inspiring just to go, I must be like him. I must be so certain of what I want that sure, I'll go against what people typically think. I may be laughed at, I may be kind of challenged, but I know where I want to go and I'm willing to do what it takes. Like, it's not going to be perfect on day one. I'm going to learn my lessons, but just that determination that it showed was just absolutely incredible to see.
Yeah, I love that you bring that story, because I'm actually with my accountability partner. This is actually something that I highly, highly recommend to anyone. Like having an accountability partner, and when you wake up at 4:55, and you know that the other person is kind of waiting if you're not waking up, you wake up. And so it's and we're reading the chapter Persistence of Think and Grow Rich, and there's a lot of mention actually about Henry Ford, because they said Henry Ford has been generally misunderstood to be ruthless and cold-blooded. The misconception grew out of Ford's habit of following through in all of his plan with persistence. And like you said, there's actually part of this chapter, and it's all about mastering your mind here and mastering your business, because one of the biggest obstacle for people to be persistent and master their business, master their mind, is the fear of criticism. And you just kind of said it, like, you decided to do something, and this is my vision, this is what we're gonna do. And in those 2 or 3 pages, the fear of criticism, I think, is being written 10 times. It's just to show people, what if you didn't care about what people think? Because it takes a lot of courage, like you said, to say, this is what we're going to do. And we're looking at the results, and he mastered his business because he really mastered his mind. And this is a reality that we're in with our own business. So it's either we fear about what people will think and we play safe, or we're determined and we're persistent, and that's going to lead to different results. That's big here. Like, how many of us are actually just thinking way too much about what people will think? And so we're playing small. We're not letting some ideas to be fruitful and be manifested, because we don't want to say it in case of somebody's going to laugh at us or whatever it is. And so, and in your story about Henry Ford, it also reminded me of when they say the recipe to develop persistence, there's 4 things. Actually, 4 things. 1, a definite purpose. So you in your story mentioned Henry Ford's purpose. Like, he had a purpose. He wanted to have everyone's going to have a job, whatever it was. He had also a burning desire. So a definite purpose backed by burning desire. That's 1. 2, definite plan expressed in continuous action. So you had a plan for that, right? Like, this is how we're going to do it. He also, and most people didn't know that, or maybe some do, he wasn't a mastermind. So a mind closed tightly against all negative and discouraging influences. So when you're in a mastermind and you're with people that are, let's go, let's do it, we're positive, we're kind of closed, or we're closing our mind to negative influences. And that's what he had. And a friendly alliances, which is the mastermind, like I said. So it's really cool to talk about the people that had a lot of success. They really mastered their minds so well. And they were able to say, hey, I'm going to be criticized. That's fine. Even when you look at the Wright brothers, I was talking to my accountability partner this morning, and apparently their own dad said, because he was a pastor, I think, he told them, if you're doing this thing, you're going to go to hell. And imagine like that's your father. Your father is a pastor with authority, respected in your own place, and said, you're going to go to hell if you do that. So imagine if the Wright brothers would have listened to their father. We would not fly, or maybe we would have flown, but differently. I don't know. But
absolutely.
So it's crazy.
It is the one. So that we went to a restaurant that's called the Ford Garage, and they had like cool stuff. They had like cars hanging from the ceiling and all kinds of cool stuff. But the one quote they had in the wall was, "If I asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses." And I just thought, like, there is willing to think differently. It's willing to like not conform, and just be so focused on what you want. I want to move people forward. I don't just want a faster horse. I want to be able to do it in a different way, make people mobile. And so it was incredible to see, and it's so fun to see it. Reading the books and then kind of seeing it firsthand and seeing the stories and pictures. It just kind of makes it real, and it's a great reminder for all of us that the things we're speaking about have very tangible results about things that you and I see in our daily lives, right? If these guys weren't willing to do things differently, challenge themselves, go for it, then where would we be? Maybe society would be different now.
And I'm glad that you bring this up. That was not planned, guys, but we like to have these conversations, and I love it because this is very, very important. Like, in my mind, what happened when you said that, I wanted to say we got to do the illogical. Because if we do the logical, that means it's predictable, then it's going to go to the same place. So when you say, if I would have done what the people want is building, having faster horses, That
Yeah,
was a logic at the time.
totally.
But he just went totally illogical. So if you want to master your business, be ready to be illogical. And we'll explain where the logic is coming from later on. But being illogical. Think about Elon Musk, as when he said, "Hey, we're just gonna talk to NASA, and here's the thing: we're gonna build this rocket. The rocket's gonna go up and it's gonna land, come
We're
back."
gonna reuse it. Yeah.
So it's like, what? No, no, we're gonna do this. What, are you crazy? Yeah, that's illogical, and that worked. Like, think about everything that he's done is pretty much illogical. Even when he just had this idea of my truck is gonna be invincible and threw the rock and that exploded. I was willing to do the risk, and then actually, instead of saying, "Oh my, this truck is not gonna work," actually, there's a lot of trucks right now. In Florida, I see them a lot. There's a lot of these trucks, and so if he wasn't able to actually iterate and come from failure and just say, "Okay, we're just gonna do it better then," and not worry about what people think. I don't think he
Mm.
worries too much about what people think, and that's what people like. That have a lot of success. They're illogical, and if they would listen to what people say, they would never go anywhere. So it's a challenge now for this end of the year, looking at your 2026. Maybe the vision sounds like or look like illogical. So what are you going to do about it? Like, is that something
Mm.
that you firmly believe? Do you have a burning desire? Do you have a definiteness of purpose? Do you have other people around you that will support you? And are you able to isolate yourself from these negative influences and stick to your plan? And so it's great. Thank you for talking about Henry Ford. So this is the thing. There's so much that we can learn from previous experiences,
Mm.
and I'm very happy that we're here to impart all the knowledge that we've gained and give it to you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
exciting.
now,
Okay, so let's talk about decision. Okay, we'll
decision.
talk about the mind first. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Well, decision is going to come up, and we will spend some time on it. Like, I think what we wanted to say is that you look at Henry Ford, you look at what's going to happen for a lot of us next year. We must start with a picture in our mind. And the reality is, when we're looking at how people are able to accomplish things and when they're thinking about their mind, what was very difficult to change their mind is that they didn't even have a picture. So this representation that looks like a stupid kid's stuff, it's a stick person, but it's just there to give you guys a representation of what the mind looks like. Because now that we have a picture, we all think in pictures. If I say, banana and put that in chocolate, you already have a picture. Oh, that's going to be amazing. Whatever we have in our mind is always represented with a picture. So now we're telling you about how the mind works, and we're showing you a picture so that
Mm.
you know how to change your mind and transform and master your mind so you can master your business.
Mm. Mm.
And
Okay,
now,
so if we just unpack what the mind actually looks like, and I think we so often kind of get stuck in our conscious mind because if you think about those kind of five little antennae that are sticking out of the big kind of circle, those are our senses, and that's everything that we kind of taste, hear, touch, smell. And so often we get stuck there, right? We look at our results, we think about things in that way, we see those results, and we feel like that is where we are stuck. And then you kind of give up on yourself, basically. And if you think about all of this information goes into your mind. The conscious mind is where you're taking in all this information. It's also where your learning is. So it's the analytical mind. It's all the thoughts. If you're sitting in school or learning something new, it's all in your conscious mind. And the beauty there is that you can think about something and choose to accept or reject an idea. Right. But then through repetition, our our beliefs and our thoughts end up in our subconscious mind. And that's what we've spoken about previously, right? So this is where our emotions sit. It's the kind of feeling part of you. And this is like your belief system. This is things that have been repeated to you over and over again as a child. It's how your family kind of lived. It's how you were brought up. It's the beliefs that they had, and that's really where kind of that belief system sits. And the problem with your subconscious mind is that it'll accept anything, right? It doesn't know the difference between what is true and what is not. And for you to be able to get the results you want, you need to be able to do things differently, right? You need to take different action. You need to cause and effect. You need to do things differently so that your results look different. And you will not act differently until the beliefs in your subconscious mind change. So I think so often we start reading things and we learn things and it's really interesting and it's all in your conscious mind, but that will not make you behave differently and that will not give you different results. So for me, it's so important to understand that it's great to learn things, but the work is in making that get into your subconscious mind. It needs to be embedded in your subconscious mind so that belief system changes so you then take different action and get those results.
Yeah, absolutely. And so much to unpack on that, right? Like when we're saying that your subconscious mind controls 95% of everything that you do. So that's huge. And when people say, oh, I don't feel like it, essentially what it means is that your subconscious mind or your paradigm is just so used to a certain way of acting and being that it doesn't feel like it. So if you want to change the results, at first it's not going to feel good because you're changing. So this is actually very important to know. Like instead of saying, oh, the change is so good, it's going to be great. Well, most of the time, change is not going to look great, feel great, because that's you're now changing into a new way of being. That's why you go to the gym. So when we talk about resolutions, we're not in January, but people are like, yeah, they're so invested on their conscious mind about the idea to go to the gym. But it hasn't been yet in the subconscious mind. That's why 98% of the people will actually, in 2 weeks after January, they will not do the resolution. So that's weak. And the reason is simply, and that's good to know, it's simply because it hasn't been implanted in the subconscious mind yet. And we must repeat it. And knowing that it's going to be uncomfortable is a good news because then it's normal. Like it's absolutely normal.
At least you're expecting it, right? It's not a
You need to
surprise.
expect it. Yeah. And when I talk to my clients, I always say, there's a learning curve. There's two curves. One is the exponential law, right? Like that's going, like the way of learning and changing habits it's either going to be exponential, which means that if you compare yourself to another person not changing their habit, you're changing your habit, you're going to look at your results. It's going to look like a flat line for a little while, and it's frustrating. And you think that there's nothing that's happening, but it's not true. There's actually something that's happening. And then all of a sudden, compound effect, boom, like there's a huge jump in productivity, in your results. There's a breakthrough, and it took time. So it's good to know that too, right? So you're just changing your habits, you're implanting new ideas. You think that your subconscious mind hasn't really caught on, and it's just that it takes time. And then eventually, boom, there's a big difference of your results. The other curve is logarithmic. So it's going to go boom, like a big shift right away. So people are getting excited. Yeah, it works. And then they have a plateau. And then they're saying, oh, you know what? It worked in the beginning, but it doesn't work anymore. So I don't think it works. You're like, no. It's just because you're on a different curve right now. You might just be like on the exponential. Knowing that is very important about the changes. And I'm thinking about corporations when they have initiatives, if they haven't implemented a habit that is done on a repetition, a constant space repetition, things are not going to change. This is why transformation doesn't work. It doesn't work because it hasn't been implemented in the minds of the people. They haven't repeated their habits. So if you have a new vision, are you telling the vision to your people constantly? You need to, because they haven't lived in that world yet. And so if that's the vision, then who do I need to be for that vision? That means there's new habits that needs to be in place. It means it's going to be uncomfortable. Yes, it's not going to be the good old system. Oh, it used to be better. But, where are we going? We're going there. If we're going 10x, things needs to change because we don't have 10x more time. We don't have 10x necessarily the resources. We've got to change our thinking. And that means completely maybe change a process. Or actually not optimize one and kill one of those processes and just do something different. So that alone is very important of knowing that when you master your mind, it creates a breakthrough, definitely in all the aspects of your life. And be ready for a change, because you're
Yeah.
changing your way of thinking, and that's what's required. And you'll be uncomfortable in the beginning.
Mm. And I mean, the gym analogy is such a good one because you can't go to gym for like 4 days going, hey, like, why am I not toned and have biceps? Like, it doesn't work like that, right? We all know that in the beginning, you're going, you don't really feel like things are changing. And then suddenly one day, it almost feels like it's overnight. You're like, hey, I can fit into these clothes, or this has changed, or whatever. And it's, there's so many kind of facets to it, but I guess that's something that people can relate to. Even if you go like on a diet and you try and release some weight, you don't say, well, I'm kind of going to eat better and be more healthy for a couple of days and expect fundamentally to have changed. Often it feels like it's slow, and then you see your friend after 3 months and they're like, what's happened, so I think it is uncomfortable. It's changing habits, it's changing the way you do things. But as you say, it's the embodying that's so important. So it's not just, hey, am I going to try this thing? It's like, I am becoming that. Do you want to take us through the
Well, I
kind of
mean,
cycle?
with the gym analogy, like you said, right? Like it's a new way of thinking, and you're gonna have to repeat that. I see that as a circle. It's something that needs to be repeated all the time. So you have a thought, it's gonna create a feeling. Initially, when you're changing your thought, this is not the feeling that you used to have, so it's gonna be uncomfortable. Then this is gonna create new action. So just knowing that cycle, this action is gonna create the results, and the more you do it, it's gonna become a virtual circle. And so if you're looking back to the slides before that, let me just go back. When we're looking at the results, if the results are not are not what you want, or not the exact representation of what was supposed to happen, just know that this is just based on your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind, your habits are not creating the results you wanted, or there's also maybe an elapsed time that needs to happen. A great quote from Bob Proctor, and I believe it was taken from U Square, great book by Price Pitchett. It said, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence.
Mm.
You're just planting the seed, you keep on doing it, and you just gotta trust. And this is where you have to be isolated again from maybe the external world, and not looking at the external results yet, not change your strategy necessarily right away, because you just need to have the reps done. And don't listen to the people, I told you it's not working, da 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 da. No, we just gotta repeat it. It's gonna work out. We know it's gonna work, and with time, then we're gonna see the results. And it's also because it takes time to change a paradigm. If we're looking at even advertisement, I was just listening to again a great book, Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life, or you can say change your paradigm, change your business, change your paradigm, change your relationship, for everything. And it said that advertisement, when you look at advertisement, do they just say, hey guys, we have a new thing to sell, we're going to show it to you once, you got it, buy it?
It's true.
It's not like that, right? It's always same ad at the same time, as actually when we're in the suggestive state, because we're just kind of looking at it in the alpha waves of our brain, and it noses, and we're just listening to the same ads. Super Bowl, same thing, like the burger that shows up. Oh, you're thinking about eating, and then after 5, 10 times, I think I don't know why, but I think I want to.
I think I want
I
a burger.
want to eat something. So this is just because it's based
Yeah,
on repetition. Same thing. So why are we
it's
not? The
true.
thing is, the paradigms are the way we've learned at school was only read the book once and you're fine. Like just tell me what you've learned, and this is it. But if I ask you questions about the book that you read 10 years ago, are you going to remember?
Never.
And Bob, like a little story for everyone, when he decided to say, you know what, my way of doing is not working, my results are not what I want, so I'm just going to be an intelligent follower. I'm going to listen to what my mentor says, and I'm just going to do it until it works. He decided, his mentor said, read this book, Think and Grow Rich. He read it not once, he read it probably 1,000 times. And there's a story where his sister had a friend, and I think her name was Pat, and she was an avid reader. And so her sister said to Pat, hey, Bob is reading. Oh, really? Bob is reading? So Pat went to see Bob. So I heard that you're reading, Bob. What are you reading? Think and Grow Rich. Oh, cool. That's nice. 2 weeks later, Hey, are you still reading? Yeah. What book are you reading now? Think and Grow Rich. And then
Still,
months later,
forever.
same thing. So, hey, are you still reading? Yeah, I'm reading. What book? Think and Grow Rich. You're still reading that book? Yeah, I'm still reading that book. And look at what he's done. Like, he just basically said there's no point to read something or to do something once and expect that you're going to have the result. You got to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it until it goes into your subconscious mind. Now, the next slide I think is really cool. That's where we're going to talk about decision. You
Okay.
see, we promised it. We promised it.
Mm.
And I will let you lead on that because I think it's a gem.
Yeah. So when you make a decision, you basically need to kind of set that goal, right? And that's where we started. We said we want to set a goal so that we kind of know what we're after. The thing is that every thought we have is basically a frequency, right? So if you look at that slide, we have like the different lines and see those as the different frequencies we are on, right? So if you look at that bottom red star, that's basically the frequency that you're currently on. Your thoughts are in alignment with your thinking. Your thoughts are in alignment with everything that like you have currently, and your life is a result of all the thinking that you've had over the years. And what's interesting is that like your previous thoughts are what caused the result you currently have, and that kind of goes back to that like gestation period that we were mentioning in the previous conversation. You can't think something different today and expect your whole world to change overnight, right? There is a period with which these things kind of develop. But what you want to do is you want to go from what your current results are and your current thinking at your current level, and you want to aim high for that goal, which is that kind of white gold star that we have. And that means that your thoughts need to change. You need to start thinking at that frequency of where your results are. And that changes everything, right? Because every thought you have, and we know we have like thousands of thoughts a day, every time you have a thought, you must think, is that in alignment with what I want? Am I at the right frequency? If there's a negative thought, your conscious mind can choose to reject a thought. That's the beauty of the conscious mind. You can choose to not stay at the red line where your current results are. You can choose to think thoughts of prosperity, of your goals achieved, of increasing your revenue in your company, of having a great relationship. When you're thinking of things in a positive way, in alignment with your goal, that's when your results start to change. And we need to embody that thinking, that person of the result is already achieved. Some people sometimes say you must think from your goal achieved, which is so powerful, right? So you're not thinking from your results, looking up, going, this goal seems so far away and so unachievable. You're already there. You're there right now. And that's when you need to switch off the conscious mind and the senses, right? You must say, I'm not listening to the feedback I'm getting right now that it's not happening. I'm believing and I'm living as if it's already achieved. And when you live from that place, that's when things start to shift, right? Because you're thinking differently, you're making different decisions, you're seeing different opportunities. And those are the things that are going to drive you to your goal. Like we so often talk about, you know, um, there's so much coming like at us all the time, right? Our senses are just picking up like millions of things, a minute, and we think we see and we know about everything, but there's actually so much that our kind of brain filters because it's just too much to take in at once. And just think about if you're, I don't know, buying a new car and you think, ooh, there's like a new color and there's, that matte gray that was really popular a while back. And you go, ooh, I'm going to get a car and I'm going to get this color because it's so different and I'm so excited. And once you've made that decision, you'll start looking around and you'll start seeing it everywhere. And you're like, no way. Did everyone suddenly start liking this color car or like what's happening? But it's just because your mind is now locked into that. Your mind is noticing that because that's something that you want. So you're noticing it more. And it's been there all along, but it's just because you're focused on that now. And that's the same thing. Like when I first fell pregnant, you kind of go, ooh, yeah, I'm pregnant, and you start kind of thinking about all the things. And suddenly all you see around you is pregnant woman. And I was like, how is this possible, right? But it's because you're zoned into it. You're noticing it, and you're probably at places where they are. But the point is that your mind is picking up on things because that is what you're thinking about. So you're seeing the things that are in alignment with your thinking and in alignment with your goals. And that's what we want to do. If we are embodying that goal and we're living from the goal achieved, everything around you is going to start aligning to support you to get there.
100%, 100%. And when you were talking, I remember Chris Martin from Coldplay. I don't know if you ever seen that, but before he became famous, he made that declaration on YouTube. I just said, "We're gonna be the best, the biggest band, one of the biggest band
Nice.
in the world," and he did. So he was already being that person. He didn't say, we're gonna wait until we have this and then we are the biggest. Like he said, we are. That's my declaration. He made a decision, and I'm thinking about the Olympic athletes. They made a decision. They're acting from the goal, and it's also going back to the gym analogy, or even like when you want to lose some weight. If you're being healthy, or if you're being the person that goes to the gym all the time, what type of habits do you have? Are you
Yeah.
gonna eat that cake? Are you gonna slack? Are you gonna no? If you're being that person, you're already embodying the behaviors of somebody that's that. So that means if I'm thinking about, I'm a house owner or I'm expanding my revenue, if I am that, how would I make my decisions? Like, how would I act? The decisions are already made. I am a business owner that expands the business. Therefore, those are my habits. I'm not going to say, oh, I'm going to have these habits once I have. No, it needs to start from this decision. And that's, again, something that we were not taught how to make. I wish somebody would have told me, you don't need to have the money. You don't need to have the resources. You just need to make a decision. Make a decision. Do make a decision. And actually, even right now, like this morning, got an email that this is how we're doing it. Like, we have some flexibility to bring things that are occurring right in the moment. It was from Steve Chandler, a great coach, and he said, "It took me a while to realize that the future is right now. I'll never forget learning this from a mentor who saw that my life was stuck in neutral. He said, 'You can go.' He would say, 'The light has changed.' He would point out, and of course, he meant the light in my heart. It had changed. I would be talking to him about something I'd always wanted to do someday, and he would say, 'You could just do that right now.' And then became pretty excited to see that it was true. You just need to make that decision." And so, and I'm not surprised that our reticular system, reticular REC, I
Particular
think,
activating system.
activating system, only sees who we are based on, hey, I'm a owner of a new car. Now I see this car all the time. I'm a mom. I'm a mother. I'm pregnant. Now I see only pregnant woman. It's just so interesting that what we're seeing on the outside is just a projection of who we are, and we mentioned that many times. So in order to get to that goal, like you said, you summarized it very well, is you gotta be on that frequency. You gotta be on that frequency and think from the end, regardless of the results that we see right now in our lives. That's where the repetition comes in. Yeah.
And that's the difficult part, right? I think it's interesting. Like it's easy hearing it, but then every day embodying it, and basically like changing your identity, right? You're not thinking about, if it's a gym example, the person, you're not going, oh, I need to try and get fit, whatever. You go, I'm a healthy, fit person. Like you're thinking about yourself very differently. And as you said, if I were that person, which I'm now embodying, what habits do I have? How do I, how do I show up for myself? I don't sleep in. I get up and I go to gym and I do these things because I respect myself, and I'm going to like honor the decision I've made. And so often with our decisions, we're like, oh, I'll do that when I have the money, or when the kids are out of school, or when this happens. And as you say, the point is that you make the decision now, and then you will find a way once a decision is made. And so often we do it the wrong way around, and then the thing never happens, and then your goal is not achieved because you were waiting for someone. But step number one is choosing what you want, because the rest will follow once you have that in place.
Yeah, and I remember one time when I invested in a mastermind, and to me, that mastermind was about voice exercises with Roger Love. He's a vocal strategist. He's someone that really helps the speakers. He worked with Tony Robbins, so I was very excited that I was in this mastermind and or not mastermind yet. I was in an event VIP, and he was sitting next to me. And at the time, I felt that I didn't have the resources to do what he was asking to invest. Like I think at 2016, $27,000, and I'm Canadian, so at the time it was maybe overall with all the trips $50,000 to invest. And Roger was talking about, oh, at home we always make decision based on the heart. This is always how. And then I was frustrated. I just thought, yeah, all right, yeah, okay. So let me ask you a question on this. Can I? Yes. So you don't have the money. How do you make a decision from the heart? Well, especially you need to make a decision from the heart when you don't have the money. I'm like, huh? Like, yeah, you don't act out of scarcity. You make a decision from the heart. Like you don't. And this is where we can start to change our behaviors because we're afraid, and we now listen to more of what the people think, and we're not being ourselves. So it's like thinking from the end. Like you make your decision from the heart. And so what's interesting is that after that, it really hit me, and I remembered what my godfather would always say: do what makes your heart come alive, otherwise you'll be poor all your life. And then all of a sudden, from that decision, I said, all right, like this is my goal, I'm gonna do it. Then an idea came in, and I thought, well, I guess I can sell my investment property. I didn't really want to do that, but okay, they need the money now. So by the time I'm gonna get the money, can I ask someone that I can borrow the money? So at that time, it was my parents who said, well, can you just borrow, like, can you lend me 30,000? And as soon as it's sold, like I'm gonna give that money back. And that was it. Like they thought actually I was crazy to do that. But the point is that the solution happened only when I made my decision, because otherwise I would have been stuck into, I don't have the money, I don't have this. I had the money. The money was somewhere, and you don't need to always sell things in order to do it. But the point is that maybe there would be, you know what, I can re-up my clients, I can propose this and get the money. It's always available somewhere, but it doesn't happen until you make that decision. And the next quote is very powerful from Albert Einstein, because that's also another thing to remember. In order to solve a problem or find a solution, no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. Like, to go back to your story with Henry Ford, people were thinking in horses, he was thinking in cars. So you had, like, his level of consciousness was definitely different from anyone else. And if you would have thought or had the same consciousness of the people, then no cars would be built, because he was thinking, I'm not gonna do the fastest horse. I'm creating a machine. Like, this is gonna revolutionize everything. And it's great to really understand this, that the solution exists at a higher level of frequency, at a higher level of consciousness. If you're thinking from the same person, if you're not changing your thinking, your results are not going to change. So that's why when we said, your mind's the real profit center. Your mind, in order to get more profit, if you look at your profit, you look at results. Is that the results that I want? No. So that means, like, I have a paradigm. I'm thinking in a certain way that doesn't lead to my results. What am I thinking? Well, I'm thinking it's not really possible. Oh, can I change that? Yes, I can accept or reject this idea. How can I do it? Oh, okay, I'm going to start to tell myself that it's possible because I can find the evidence of other people that have done it. So is this real and possible? Yes. So what do I need to do? Make a decision. That's, summarizing a little bit what we've said today.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you were talking, it was reminding me of the 10x is easier than 2x, Dr. Benjamin Hardy, because he also, the Henry Ford one of like faster horses. If you're thinking the same, you're kind of trying to 2x, right? You're trying to like squeeze the lemon a bit. You're trying to get a little bit of efficiencies. You're trying to do more of the same, potentially just a little bit better. But I think if you go back to what are we actually doing here? We're moving people from point A to point B, like regardless of the horses or the how or the whatever, like that is what we're trying to do. Now let's think about the way in which we can do that, and I think so easily we just think we must do what we're currently doing better. But if you're trying to exponentially grow and fundamentally change things, that's when you go, okay, let's go back to the basic kind of goal we're trying to achieve, and let's think of how we can do that, not from what we're doing currently, just think about what opportunities we have and how we can get this done. And then you can be so creative about, what the solutions are. And often it's completely different to what you're currently doing. And that's when these big jumps happen. Even if you think about Steve Jobs and like iPhones, like phones were fundamentally different back then. Like they didn't have interesting screens, there was no music or anything. And he made it like a mini computer, right? But they weren't just trying to make the current phone that most people at that stage had some Nokia. They weren't just trying to make it smaller or whatever. They were like, let's completely change the game. It happens to take phone calls, but currently our phones actually do. I use my phone for mostly way different things than taking phone calls. If you look at the percentage, phone calls are actually a tiny percentage of what I use my phone for.
Totally, and thank God he invented this, because the text that Nokia with 1 2 3 4 letter. I remember that, and we were pretty good at it. But thank God we changed the paradigm on that. That was yes, and like you, I love the Nokia. Anyways, so it totally yes, and it's great. I like the idea when you said, let's think about the ways that we can achieve it, not just thinking 2x. A great question that occurred in my mind is, let's say we have X goal. So assuming it's already done, we can ask this question to a team and partners and employees. Let's assume it's already done. We have 10X, or we have done this. How did we achieve that? What are the ideas that are coming in? To be an innovator and disruptor, you got to do things differently. And like Steve Jobs totally was a disruptor, like and he also brought things from different industries, right? Like the story about like the font and everything. He just thought that, hey, this is not looking good. He connected the dot only after. I'm going to change the font. I'm going to do this. He brought things from a different perspective. He brought things from another industry, brought it together, and that created an innovation. So if we're just stuck in our own paradigm, our own thing, we're not going to go too far. There's so many ways. That's why I love actually going to travel in different countries where you can just look at the way they eat, look at what they eat, or how they do things, how they wait in line, or how the system. You're like, wow, this is really different. Like, you guys are waiting that long for this, or actually this is so efficient. Wow, I wish I had that in my country. They're just coming up with new ways of thinking. So again, to go back, like, let's be illogical. 2026 is coming real fast. Actually, it started already. For the people that are very successful, it already started. What habits are they already starting to do so that they're successful in 2026, right? And so the whole episode today was mastering your mind so that you can master your business. And we're going to give you some of the key takeaways. And if there's any other stories that comes in your mind, Elise, I would love to hear, because I love this. It's such a pleasure. It's such a pleasure to do these things with you, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We always have fun, hey? Okay, so let's look at key takeaways. So your belief shapes your execution more than your plans. You don't act on what you know, you act on what you believe is possible for you. Isn't that powerful, for just really stretching yourself and your team to do better?
And paradigms dictate the performance. So if you really it's going back almost to what we just said before, right? If you think it's possible, you're going to do it. And your subconscious mind, like, really what you feel, like, don't trust your feeling, trust, like, really think about the goal. From the goal, make a decision, and know that it has to be implanted in your subconscious mind. That sets the point to decide how long your strategy is going to go.
Number 3, you can't create extraordinary results with ordinary thinking. So powerful to just challenge us to change those thinking patterns to really break through.
And when we say self-image is the governor of behavior, that's personal, and a self-image is really the culture of the enterprise, right? So when a business is made of people, I remember you said that before, a hotel is not just the structure, it's not just the furniture, like a hotel without the people is nothing. So what is our culture? And that culture is going to shape our behavior. So if we say we are a positive entity, we're striving to do our best, then everyone's going to have these habits of being the best and being positive and smiling, and the level of service will always bring in an impression of increase, etc. So self-image is really what dictates your behavior.
Yeah. And then your results always tell you where your current thinking is, right? Your current results are evidence of your current programming. So if you're ever wondering whether you're thinking the right things or if your programming and paradigms and your belief system is right and is serving you, just look at your results and that'll tell you. If your results are not what you want, it's time to start working on that paradigm.
And I know people love to scale, so the fastest way to scale is to upgrade the operator. Maybe there's things that you don't need to do. You need to optimize. Like really, you gotta think differently. So 10x is a great example. You can even say 100x. I like Dr. Benjamin Hardy's new book, The Science of Scaling. He's talking about impossible goals in 100x, not just 10x, but 100x. And he has helped some people to do that instead of thinking of a vision of 10 years in 10 years, like it's a vision of 10 years in 3 years. And all of a sudden you're really upgrading your operator, your governor, your internal thinking. And so to summarize, we can also just say every breakthrough in your business is preceded by a breakthrough in your mindset. Like you got to master your mind in order to master your business. And when you master your mind, you master your behaviors are going to change. And when your behaviors are changing, your results are changing, and they compound. And then when the results compound, all of a sudden everything changed. And so that's really the episode today of mastering your mind so you can master your business. That's as simple as that.
Yeah, and it all comes back to your mind. So just in the previous slide, we had a QR code for our Google document. So there we'll have our key takeaways and we'll have some exercises of today's session, and just to help you think through what your paradigm is doing and what is it showing you and how you can start looking to make those changes. And then on the next slide, we've got links to book calls with us. Francis is an incredible coach. He works with people, and he has this incredible nightclub for men that are really looking to make major breakthroughs and do exciting things. And as he was talking about masterminding, surround yourself with the right people that can really help you move forward. So definitely worth giving Francis a call.
And I will say the same about Elise. Elise is so great at asking great questions. I always feel that she cares about the person that's in front of her. She has had a lot of success in every endeavors that she took. And I think what I really appreciate from you, Elise, is that you're very human and you're able to have so much care to understand that, everyone have good intentions, and you're asking and deeply listening to the issues that they have in their mind, and you're able to unlock them. So I'm thinking about myself when you say that, because you've done that to me, and I know you've had great stories with other people. So the point is, if you like what you're seeing right now, we are here to help. We know we can make a breakthrough in your business, in your life. It's just hard sometimes to try to figure this out by yourself, and being alone, there's a lot of pressure. Maybe you just need to have a sounding board, and we're here to support. And we love what we do, really. So, and 2026 is just coming up. Don't wait until January to make your changes. Let's do it now. Actually, I will say that next week for the nightclub. By the way, the nightclub has a K for any listeners. It's not, hey, we're going to the discotheque. Oh, this is so good. Just, man, like finally we can be in a caveman somewhere. No, it's really a place where, people are taking a close look at their goals. They have strong values, strong honor codes, and next week we'll do a round table to really prepare the founders to finish strong the year, and also start very strong for next year. So, but again, thank you so much, Elise. Love your stories, love your insight. Amazing coach, amazing leader. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much, Francis. See you guys next time.
See you guys.
Take care.